and we hope you will continue to, to join our sessions and also to contribute to the ideas that continue to improve the Institute and its mission. So on that note, allow me to invite all our panelists to put on your videos, please, so then I can introduce you properly. Yes. Fantastic. So I can see. So colleagues, allow me to introduce the next panel, which is going to consider a decade of impact in conversation with partners. So this conversation is really looking at speaking to those who support our work, invest in our programs, and just getting a sense of the work we do together, what they do, and also how we can continue taking this conversation forward in the next 10 years. So welcome to Nicholas Opolot Lakwang, who is a programs manager at the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung in Uganda and South Sudan, a fantastic thought leader in his own right, and a personal friend who I like very much. I'd like to also introduce Diana Odong, a manager of corporate and social investment at Stanbic Bank. So Diana leads the thinking process and the implementation programs at Stanbic Bank to do with the CSR program. So thank you, Diana, for joining us. And then, of course, we have Twasiima Bigirwa from the Segal Family Foundation. Thank you, Twasiima, for joining us. Twasiima is a feminist lawyer, but also a thought leader in her own right. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts as we think together, Twasiima. And then, of course, Luke Ofungi, who is the Deputy Director at CEED Concordia. CEED is it's an abbreviation for Community Education, Empowerment and Development. It's based out of Concordia University in Montreal, Canada, and with a co-implementing office here in Uganda. So Luke, thank you so much for joining us. So first of all, guys, I like that coincidentally, we all have stories together at a personal level beyond you representing the organizations that you represent. Starting with you, Diana, I think, Diana, we've become such fantastic friends, and thinking together and reinforcing each other's positive energies, and already going on to even do more work together with the bank in supporting the bank to design more youth engagement programs. So I'm really happy that you're on this call and that we're working together. Twasiima, who is, I should also mention Twasiima was probably the first member of staff at the LéO Africa Institute. And when we were still trying to figure out things and run around and not knowing what to, just playing with ideas, as a fresh graduate from Makerere University with fire in her belly, she was able to come in and support me and support my thought process and make it seem like I was actually having so many exciting things. So thank you so much, Twasiima, for joining. And of course, Luke. Luke is a young brother of mine who we knew each other for over a long period of time, and now leads an organization which I started when I was a student at Concordia University in Montreal. And the organization has now 18 years of fantastic work in Gulu and in Montreal. And it's work that I'm so proud about. And I'm also really proud that Luke, a very values-focused and best leader, is leading the program in Uganda, given that we've had so many challenges in the past. And look, really proud of the work we're doing together. And Nicholas, also a young brother of mine, who is doing fantastic work at the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung. I have no idea how you juggle all these things that you're doing, Nick, but you're doing a fantastic job. I think you have such a big load and they're putting so much responsibility on you at such a young age. And I think for me, it goes to reinforce again why we're here, why we support each other, and why networks matter. All these conversations we are having, which could unrelated to, because you're representing your institutions, but at the same time, it could appear as if you're just supporting your friend, right? So somebody was asked earlier about how you achieve your visions and all that. And I think this is what it is: networks, people who ground us, people who support us. So thank you guys for joining us. I'll start by inviting each one of you to just have your own thought process with the journey you've walked with LéO, what your organization see as the importance of investing in the work we do, the collaboration we have, and how you envision maybe the next 5-10 years will be in the space that we now occupy and support. So I'll start with you, Nicholas.
Thank you, Awel. I'm happy to be here with everyone that's joined us online, but also to be here with the partners to share our story of partnership, to share with you the challenges, the opportunities that still lie ahead as we look forward to the future. Once again, I'll introduce myself. I'm Opolot Nicholas Akwang. I'm a program manager with the Konrad Adenauer Foundation, and I'm fortunate to wear two hats today on this call. I consider myself to be a member of the LéO Africa Institute community, but also on the other side of the coin, I am a partner of the Institute. So I'll be very cognizant of that fact today as we have this engaging discussion. So one, I'll really speak to why and what matters in regards to the collaboration and partnership that we have with the LéO Africa Institute. So what really informs the work that the Konrad Adenauer Foundation does essentially with LéO is that one, we're invested in the future of young people, and we recognize the fact that for Africa to be able to overcome the challenges that it is faced with now, we will have to invest heavily into the potential and build the capacity for young people to be able to lead their societies and their communities. And that really underpins the work that we do with the LéO Africa Institute, investing in people and trying to nurture their leadership potential so they can be able to attend to the challenges that we are faced with today in our modern societies. So over the 10 years, we've embarked on amazing projects together to one, identify specific gaps that we felt at the time were critical to address. And one of the inaugural projects that the LéO Africa Institute partnered with CAS was to design the Young and Emerging Leaders Program. So the Young and Emerging Leaders Program really speaks to the need to identify key individuals who are at the cusp of a new beginning in their communities that see themselves potentially as leaders who can be able to influence and inspire others to act. So this is what really informed the foundation for the Yale Fellowship. But also we went on to curate an ideas platform, which was the LéO Africa Review, and subsequently the magazine itself, which we felt was a platform needed to crystallize on the ideas that we had been discussing about in the different conversations or platforms that we had designed. So we felt that we needed to come up with authentic ideas that discuss development in Uganda, on the continent, but also to share the aspirations of young people. And this speaks to what Awel shared earlier, that he had been to Europe and many other spaces where Uganda, where Africa was missing out on the picture. So for a very long time, Africa and our communities, we've been on the receiving end of these conversations. So we've not been really able to, one, influence the decisions that are made, but also to contribute to the agenda, because these issues affect us in our communities. But you cannot have people make decisions for you without you having to contribute your thoughts and ideas to it. And this really informed why we came up with the Ideas platform. And I'm happy to inform you that the platform is still alive and well and growing strong. And we hope in the next coming years, it will still remain a convening platform or structure which many young people can use as a point of reference to share their thoughts and aspirations for the continent. I will leave it at that and hand over the baton to Diana, and we keep the conversation going. Thank you, Awel.
Thank you very much, Nicholas. First of all, congratulations to LéO Africa on a decade. You know the saying that whether you do something about the time or not, it's going to pass. So thanks to LéO Africa and the faculty for an impactful 10 years. While someone sent the notes for this session, I thought of the analogy of a tree where the generations, a tree is planted and the people who sit under that shade are a different generation. I think that the work LéO Africa is doing is like that tree. Over the 10 years, the roots have been established and the stem is forming. And over time, it's going to create a beautiful shade. Because when you look at the 72 fellows who have gone through the training, when you look at the fact that they're in different parts of Africa, it only means that the fangs, no, not the fangs, the tentacles will be far and wide. Number two, I also think of John Maxwell, and to speak to what Nicholas said, the fact that everything rises and falls on leadership. Our continent is rich, but that wealth has not been optimized. So the work that LéO Africa is doing is creating the right leadership, which is effective to derive the value that Africa has. I'll also connect that to Jim Collins' Good to Great, where he talks about the fact that the companies that thrive are those with homegrown solutions. Through Yelp and Huduma and the other work that LéO Africa is doing, we are developing homegrown solutions. We don't need someone to come from miles away to tell us what our problem is. We don't need them to tell us what the solutions are, because we have them and we have what it takes. So LéO Africa is enabling that through the programs. The other point is from a book by Martin Meredith that talks about, it's entitled State of Africa. When you read that book, first of all, it is 746 pages. They describe most of the African leaders, including the person that most of us admire, Kwame Nkrumah, as a villain. The fact that the essence of service in leadership has worn off. So Martin Meredith's book paints a picture of mental poverty on our continent, where we have leaders, they are not serving. So this program here is helping us address a pertinent problem that Meredith is sort of helping us build the self-esteem of our continent. We have what it takes. Why aren't we doing something about it? When we think about posterity, this program is enabling posterity, that generations to come, LéO Africa will have left a mark through all the fellows that have gone through the program. In terms of what the partnership means and why Stanbic as an organization took on this year we celebrated 160 years of Standard Bank Group. And for me, I think that's an example of effective leadership, because for you to pass on the mantle, you have to pass on the mantle, live at a good place, and the next person that takes after you is doing even more. So 160 years of Standard Bank is really that when you do things right, when you have the right leaders, you can sustain, you can transcend generations. The other thing is about our theme and vision. Africa is our home, we drive for growth. Uganda is our home, we drive for growth. So when LéO Africa philosophy, we just had to plug in. Like Awel said, what does that mean for the next years? We are already looking at a Stanbic Youth Advisory Board. We are in the financial service sector, but we want to design products and services that address the challenges that the youth have. So the members of this board will be the voice to the youth of our country. Thank you very much.
Diana, you could pick on the next person you'd like to speak.
Thank you. I will invite Twasiima. Thank you.
Diana, you really pronounced my name right. It's very rare for me to be in meetings where people can say it, can pronounce it how it's actually pronounced. a decade of impact. It's interesting hearing all of us reflect on the impact of Yelp and the LéO Africa Review, because I actively remember when we were just huddled in our very small office with Awel and a few others, ideating on what this could look like. And to hear from the fellows the extent of their commitment to these programs, I think we couldn't even have imagined at that time just how relevant these interventions would be. So congratulations to Awel and to everybody who has put in the work for the past 10 years. I'm here in two capacities. One, as a very, very big friend of the Institute, and also as a representative of Segal Family Foundation. Segal is a private philanthropy that supports local visionaries in Africa, primarily to address the complex challenges that persist in our communities. And when you think about the work that LéO does, this is very much what they're trying to do as well, right? And so as we're thinking about why these challenges persist, like why do we continue to have crisis of leadership? Why does poverty persist in the ways it does? Why are our education, health, and livelihood sectors struggling in the ways that they are? We really go back to this question of a collective understanding of what the problem is, as well as a commitment to reimagining alternatives, to investing in solutions, to investing in the kind of leadership that is going to take for us to be able to truly reach the potential that our countries and our communities can come to, right? And these are also questions of identity and changing the narratives that persist, that affect the ways in which we feel about each other, that affect the ways in which we feel about our communities, that affect the ways in which we as Africans navigate the world, right? And yet, when you look around, these are not funding priorities for a lot of people, right? So we're not resourcing this important and necessary work in the ways in which we should be, which is, of course, why, as a foundation, we strongly believe in the mission of LéO and are committed to continuing to support all the work that it's doing. So we have, fellows of the Institute who have gone on to do amazing things and have also now gone on to become our partners. That is also the legacy of LéO. It's that when you look around in Uganda or Rwanda or Kenya and you look at who is emerging, who is doing creative things, who is trying to find solutions to the problems of their communities, a lot of them are going to be connected to the Institute. And that in itself is telling of just, how impactful this work is. So, in this post-pandemic world where so much has changed and yet so much has also stayed the same, the question of the next 10 years is how we collectively rebuild our communities, how we equally stay connected to each other, right? How we are building is important, but so is with whom we are building, right? And when you look at the network of young leaders in LéO, it's very clear that there's a collective investment in the kind of futures that we want, and that, it's only through leveraging each other's strengths that we can build and, collectively work towards all that we're hoping to achieve. So I am very excited to be a part of this network, and we look forward to engaging more with all the amazing leaders that have come from the Institute. To another 10 years, Awel. Over to you, Luke.
Thank you, Twasiima. Thank you, my fellow panelists. Thank you, Awel Uwihanganye. My name's Ofungi Luke, and I'm the Deputy Director of CEED Concordia in Uganda. First and foremost, I would like to congratulate you, Awel, and the team at LéO Africa Institute on the milestone of the 10 years. CEED, Concordia, and LéO Africa are sister organizations that was created by Awel Uwihanganye and Peter Shefki during their university time at Concordia, with the aim of utilizing manpower volunteerism to addressing community challenges. And over the time, CEED Concordia changed her niche towards using a professional internship program on enhancing skills of youth, but also using that to leverage and address community challenges. And over the time, we have worked closely with the Institute on projects such as the Gulu Go Green Marathon, but also the conference as a module of addressing climate crisis, especially in the region that faces indiscriminate cutting down of indigenous tree species, but as well addressing its own community challenges through the internship program. The internship program as well is an opportunity that we have engaged in with LéO Africa to train and build leaders, especially around Africa, but also from Canada. And that fits into LéO Africa's theme of building, the Africa that we want. And we found it best fit, not only because we are sister organizations, but one way or the other, we share similar goals and ambitions of building resilient communities in which we serve. For the next 10 years, for the next 10 to more years, CEED has committed her partnership and engagement with LéO in building a curriculum for students based in the diaspora, especially Canada. And now also CEED intends to grow beyond Gulu, but also Uganda, and provide the opportunities to East African students, which again is a shared goal with LéO Africa in instilling leadership disciplines, but also passing on and building skills amongst the leaders we have. We also tend to actualize the global seminars and instill this as well within the communities of Gulu. But also, Awel, as you're aware, with the emphasis and the collaboration of LéO, we had our first leadership meeting back in Gulu with the guidance of Kwesi and the team, where we were able as well to train community leaders, the LC ones, the village chiefs, and etc., especially with skills in leadership and how they can harness their potentials and partnerships moving forward, hence sharing the shared goal and value of which we all share. So I just wanted us to highlight the positions as CEED, of which we benefit from the partnership with LéO, hence committing our further support for the next 10 years for your Mate. Thank you very much.
Asante, thank you so much, everybody. So we just dive deep into the straight into the conversation, given that we don't have much time. But maybe to just hear from you, we just listened into a keynote opening with Martin Balaba, and I think all of you listened into the conversation, and he highlighted a number of issues. One is, how do we build a network of values-based leadership, and why it's so important that we invest in this space. Number two, how do we build programs that support young people to adopt and thrive? And also they emphasize the importance of building networks that sort of ground each other, in terms of support, but also keeping them focused. I'd like to hear you, as we now work together, as we shape the agenda of the next 10 years, perhaps you can share some of the reflections from your own experiences in your organizations in terms of how you see the challenge. What are the key challenges that emerging leaders like yourselves, because you're just young people yourselves, what do you see as the core challenges structurally at an individual level that you see this generation or the generation coming are the key challenges, and what can we do? What should we do? Given some of the insights of the challenges, but also the opportunities that we heard from Martin's keynote address. So I can start with you, Twasiima. You have a wide network of Segal members across the continent. Your organization is invested in supporting various social entrepreneurs, innovators, and some of the thought leaders of the continent. How would you see your organization's position to support communities to build, adapt, communities, a generation of which is adopting, and thriving?
Right. It's interesting. I think about this question a lot, primarily because a lot of things have changed because of COVID, and I sometimes wonder if a lot of us are paying attention to the opportunities that are emerging, especially for young Africans now. With renewed conversations around shifting power back to those whom it has been taken away from, and changes in the ways in which development is done, and etc. There's so many opportunities for us to determine for ourselves what the next couple of years on the continent are going to look like. And so that's really the work that we are investing in doing, which is to resource African visionaries who are thinking very creatively and disruptively about, solving the complex problems. One of the things that emerges is the necessity of community, right? And which is something that LéO also greatly emphasizes. This idea that it is impossible for us to truly tackle all the challenges that persist doing it in silos and doing it in isolation, that only by working collaboratively and only by drawing on each other's strengths can we have the ability to really transform our communities, right? So it's to ask who is working in health, what are they doing? Who is working in education, what are they doing? Who is doing work in the livelihood sector, what are they doing? Who is thinking about emerging leaders, what are they doing? How can we, be intentional about building those connections, about leveraging each other's strengths? That's very necessary work, and yet it's not work that we actively engage in on a daily, right? So the importance of community, the importance of convening and collaborating, the importance of building and leveraging on each other's strength is work that the Institute has been doing for a long time. And a lot of people and a lot of us are now coming in to learn and to equally support. So that's what I see as the emerging opportunities. I like to believe that there's no such thing as an impossibility, and that if we can think it, if we can articulate it, we can work towards achieving it. And right now is the time for us to reimagine and work towards alternatives and to be as disruptive to the status quo as we possibly can. Back to you, Awel.
Great. Nicholas, what are your thoughts? How is CAS positioning itself to support its extensive network of young people to especially in these challenging times?
Thank you, Awel, for raising this critical issue for us to share. One, I think we need to take stock of the old problems, but also the new context in which we find ourselves in, and looking at some of the new approaches that we have to adopt to be able to survive and build a sustainable future for young people. So we still recognize that, one, young people still face the challenge of leadership. So when we talk about leadership, you realize that the world is at the cusp of a new era. We're just coming out of a pandemic, and Uganda in particular, we are faced with another epidemic, which is Ebola. So you see that leadership in contemporary times is faced with new challenges, and these new challenges require new approaches. And for CAS, really, our three principles that underpin our work is still fundamentally freedom, justice, and solidarity. So when we look at enhancing social progress, we're looking at the new approach of innovation. So for all our programs and the partners that we work with, we're trying to restructure and find new ways to innovate, but also to keep our programs relevant and to still be able to solve the challenges that we're faced with in the most sustainable way, because everyone's now talking about sustainable development. So we are thinking about the future generations principle, where you're able to sow the seeds and plant the trees so other people can come and use the shed that you've built. So for us really is one, still continuing to invest in young people, the future of work, because we need to recognize that the future will be African by 2050. So whether you like it or not, if we don't solve the growing challenge of Africa's population and the young people that continue to get out of the universities, that need to join the workforce, if they're not gainfully employed, if they don't have the leadership skills to address their social challenges, we will still be faced with the challenges of yesterday. So speaking to the 10 years of impact that the LéO Africa Institute has had in collaboration with the Konrad Adenauer Foundation, we still see it as an immense opportunity to engage young people and find meaningful ways to for their participation, because for us really at the foundation, we still see democracy as the main entry point for working with young people. So looking at new constituencies where you can find young people, such as social media, innovation, the arts and culture, really the places where young people are more interested in, this is where we are now entering. And the foundation is really restructuring its programming to see that we feel the need for people and the communities where they come from. So for us, the key thing is focusing on human-centered design. We are going back to the communities to ask them, what do you need? And we also go back internally and review, what are the resources we have? And what do the partners, what are the strengths that the partners have, so we can leverage our spirit to collaborate and be able to achieve the impact that Awel has been talking about. So thank you, Awel, and back to you.
Thank you. And for you, Nicholas, how do you feel individually? Are you excited about this? Do you feel like you have all the support systems that you need, sort of like drive that agenda that you passionately talk about?
I think I'm very optimistic about the future, and I always tell you this, that despite everything that's going on and the gloominess, the pessimism that people have, I am not cynical about the future. In fact, this is an optimistic invitation to the future. I see that we still have a very active role to meaningfully contribute, but me, myself, personally, I still have to overcome the challenge of one, enhancing my capacity to lead and continue to inspire others, and to be able to also develop myself personally. So it goes both ways, being able to do the work that I'm passionate about, but also being able to grow at a pace which is required of me to deliver. So that's the balance that I have to, thank you.
Very cool. Yeah, thanks so much, Nicholas, for those insights. And Diana, I know we are working together on a great project, which maybe you can also shed a bit of more light on. But I think also to just bring it maybe back to the individual person, you, as like the same question I asked Nicholas, the optimism of the future. How do we move away from the abstract conversation that we're having and really create like real hope? Perhaps all of us on this call, we have jobs, we probably have jobs and we have an income, but we also have people on this call who are probably very optimistic leaders and who have passionate ideas, who have energies to expound, and who are just looking to getting a headway into an opportunity. So you could share from an institutional point of view, but I think your own personal thoughts and feelings about creating a future that's hopeful for young people, what that looks like.
Thank you, Awel. if I could just go back to what Dr. Balava talked about, the fact that COVID sort of brought to light something that many of us on the African continent had been brought up with, the fact that the West is more superior than Africa. During COVID, it was revealed that we probably are at the same playing level in certain areas. So for me, I see that started us off on a journey of make-believe. That even us as a continent, there are things that we can actually do. You know, there are things that had been shrouded in glory from the other side that now we are realizing we as a continent can do. Away from that, when Dr. Balaba talked about community, I thought of the quality of the community. Recently, the world population hit 8 billion. We celebrated quantity, but we have to look at the quality, because you may have 8 billion, but what is the quality of life? What can they access? Bearing in mind that the majority of that population are young, it means that we have to take the leadership conversation to the dining table, which brings in the angle of parenting. When we start it at a young age, it sticks even better. So as an organization, the interventions we are doing, one of them is maternal health. So we are working with the Ministry of Health in terms of reducing the mortality for mothers and babies, which speaks to the quality. When we go to the secondary school, we have the National Schools Championship, still about creating a sense of make-believe. We have children from as far as Gulu, Lira, Fort Poto, and you give them an opportunity to try their hand at something different. What is the narrative? After school, you have to get an 8 to 5. But what is the alternative? We live in communities that have challenges, and we can be a part of the solution. So we enable them to get into that mindset. And because of the additional categories we have created, they can continue that after school. So we move on to the next age group, which is now where LéO Africa comes in. I may not have had the opportunity at secondary school, but there's an opportunity after university. And that's why it is important, the work that LéO Africa does. Because again, no matter the society, the tone is set at the leadership. So this initiative and intervention, it will impact the quality of life. It will impact the quality of services in the country. It will impact our future as a country and as a continent. So Awel, those are my thoughts.
Great, thank you so much, Diana, for those insights. And I think maybe, do you want to share more light? It may be premature, but I think the work also that the bank is investing in terms of getting young people to be at the center of advising it to, in terms of first of all, auditing. I like the way we, in our sessions for co-creating, looking at institutions like Stanbic Bank, which has so much influence in the financial sector and determines who gets what at what rate, you know, saying that we want young people at the center of our advisory board or at the exco to be able to evaluate what we do openly and tell us what we're not doing right. I think it's revolutionary, and I thought maybe we have an opportunity for you to talk about that.
Okay, thank you very much, Awel. So I came across the term VUCA, and I like to talk about it. Volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. It seems to have become the new normal. Now, when it comes to the area of products and services, every organization wants to be of value to the community, to the customer that it's serving. To get here is from a realization that sometimes we sit in a boardroom and come up with brilliant ideas and solution for an age group, solution for a group of people. So we are doing it differently this time, and we are setting up a youth advisory board that is going to play an advisory role to let us know that, guys, look here, you are serving us this menu, but this menu is not going to help us. So from these conversations, we're going to go deep into to understand the youth from their point of view. The other side to this is that it's a training opportunity for them because they get to understand the dynamics, the structure of a corporate organization. So it is a two-pronged thing. They are solutioning, but they're also learning in the process. So thank you, Awel, for queuing that for us. Thank you very much. And we're working with LéO Africa on that. Thank you.
No, we are really excited about this. I think it's going to just, first of all, Stanbic is such a reputable organization. So for us, it's an opportunity to have impact at the center of an institution like Stanbic Bank, and we're really excited about that. And also just to let everybody who on the call know that there will be a call going out for people to apply to join the board, the advisory board, and I think many people on this call will probably be eligible, which is I think from 18 to 35. So it's an opportunity, I think, to be at the center of decision making with an institution that is so reputable for over a year. So we'll be keen to share this opportunity with everybody who is on this call. So look, so my story with CEED, when we set out, I was quite young when we set out to set up this organization in Canada with my friend Peter. And at that time, we thought we need to create more champions for Africa in the Western world because the West is so ignorant about how they see Africa. So my view was we need as many people who probably end up in leadership in the Western world to have an idea of what Africa is really about, truly. And the best way to do it, we thought, would create an opportunity that gets young people who are driven to come and spend 2-3 months at a time in Uganda, and that can give them an insight into maybe what our communities are like and build more friends for Uganda and for Africa in the world. And I'm really glad that we've succeeded on that front with over 500 young people from around the world who go through Concordia University who have participated in this program. But I also like that we pair them up with this pairing with Ugandan young people to work together. And of course, the result has been amazing collaborations and partnerships. CEED children, many brown children as a result, but mostly really the impact of the work that we have, that we are doing in the communities in Gulu. So here, just you're on this call. On the other side, you're working with Kwesi and the team at LéO. How does this inspire you to see how we can continue this kind of initiatives? It's been almost like 18 years since we set up this organization. What lessons do you draw from this? What inspiration do you take to encourage you to continue doing the work you're doing?
Thank you, Awel. I think the strongest takeaway lessons for the journey of CEED and the collaboration between CEED and LéO has strongly been collaboration. Twasiima mentioned it, and most of the time organizations or multinational companies tend to execute their projects in silos, but the numbers, the greater impact is felt. We were able to reach places that we don't reach through the leadership forums we had in Gulu, but also through the deliberate work we have just concluded in Kabale, especially with the female teachers while addressing patriarchy, but also helping them attain their degree in a space of 1 year, you know, while using innovation as a platform. The opportunity as well we have going into the next 10 years is an opportunity to leverage on the growing numbers, especially as you know, as CEED, we look at the demographic of youth, where we address the problem of unemployment through enabling them, integrate them into our main core projects, where they learn the skills for 4 months during our professional summer program, where we have students obviously from Concordia University and students from all over universities in Uganda. So we send out a call where the students get to apply and are later subjected to these different projects and gain hands-on approach, you know. So that is the opportunity as well we see that we shall leverage on, especially now that those numbers are going into productive labor. So how do we have a labor force that is of quality, as alluded to by Diana? How do we continuously engage these youth through our different programming, through our different skilling, but also critically is how do we enable our counterparts, tell the African story, authentic story, you know? How do we also address our challenges using indigenous solutions, but also solutions that trickle down, especially to the layman. So in regards to the opportunities available for us for collaboration, one is to intensify our structure for collaboration so that our impact is felt, and then also to leverage on the growing numbers as alluded by Diana and Nicholas on addressing quality leaders that we ought to have while demystifying as well the African story that is out there. Thank you, Awel. But over to you.
Thank you so much. So Trish, I'm going to come to you, and we're just getting into the next session, which is going to be just as exciting, with Magnus Muchunguzi and Katia. Magnus is in Geneva and Katia is in Zambia. So I'm really looking forward to that conversation. Trish, let's bring it down to us individuals. How do the role of individuals driving organizations, and how, in terms of partnerships, what a factor that is in partnerships? Because we're all partners on this side. What would you see has been what is the ingredient of building lasting partnerships? And what does the element of, you know, what we talk about in terms of holding each other to account, values-based leadership, when you bring it down to individuals, how does that play out? Because I mean, as you know, with the LéO Africa Institute, we've been very intentional in keeping the not that we want to keep the organization small, but we're very intentional in who we work with. And we don't just go out and apply for every single funding opportunity that is there, mostly because of the core values and the mission we've set, and also the need to grow organically. But when the partnerships that work, they also from my experience, a personal element has a big role to play. What would you share in terms for those who have small organizations, small businesses, they want to build partnerships? What insight can you provide on that?
For me, the biggest contributor of that is always aligning of values, as well as building of trust, because that's really how community and collaboration are fostered, right? It's that me and you have aligned on the vision, we understand what we're trying to do and why it's important, and we trust each other enough to be supportive of each other's goals and wants, and to give each other grace when it is required. And so that's really the ways in which Segal fosters partnerships with all our partners, and the ways in which, you know, even as individuals, we work with partners. So that, we do this thing called trust-based partnership, where it's that I inherently trust that you are purposing to do good, and that, dictates the ways in which we show up to conversations. It dictates the expectations that we have of each other. It also dictates really our commitment to the cause, to showing up even when it's difficult and even when we would prefer not to. So I would say those are the key things. One of the things that I appreciate most about the Institute and you, Awel, is this question of integrity, of how do you continuously ground yourself in the things and in the people that hold you accountable, even when things are going great and even when things are not. And the integrity is a huge part of the ways in which we can foster relationships that are sustainable and that are built in mutuality.
Brilliant. Diana, 1 minute. What are your thoughts on that? You're muted, Diana.
Oh, thank you. While Twasiima was speaking about trust-based partnership, I quickly wrote that down because I think it's important in terms of values, that when you set out to do something, you have the right sort of partnership. We cannot deny the impact of partnership in terms of scaling the impact. And the truth is that the challenges are quite many. So when we put together every effort in the different spaces and put it together, happiness, the impact is immense, and you go in a place and it's an investment that you are sure will bear fruit. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Diana. Nicholas, any thoughts on this?
Thank you, Awel. I think for me, the glue for partnership, what really brings together people is one, finding a connection that brings it together. So that speaks to the purpose of why you're together in the first place. But to make it actually work, you need to have trust between yourselves, be authentic, and still hold yourselves accountable to what you've set out to do. So for me, this is really speaking to clearly defining the expectations and always going back to the drawing board whenever you need to shift direction to be able to serve the people that you're meant to serve. So at the end of the day, the objective is service, really. Service to the community, service to our people, and leading in the best way that we can. Thank you.
Any last thoughts, Luke?
Yes, Awel, we will raise 3 components, which are ultimately what my colleagues have shared: trust, accountability, and performance. All these go in tandem. And with trust as well, you have a responsibility to be accountable to the beneficiaries, but as well, obviously, to the partner themselves. But also we ought to perform in regards to our set out tasks and obligations to enhance each other's capacities, but also to fulfill the obligations of the partnership. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. I think this was such a great conversation. We very much appreciate all the support you provide to our organization. We enjoy working with you. We are purposeful with working with you, and we look forward to continuing to enhance this this relationship. And I think this last conversation is the good segue to the next session, which is going to be led by one of our Yale fellows based out